Evening. Been a rather fun day. So I was finishing my last day of working at this port, and it was getting around to around 11 o'clock. We were going to cut out at noon. Really didn't have anything left to tell the guys of anything, and I troubleshot a bunch of stuff, and I think they were pretty happy with me. I don't know. I'm really bad at telling these things. So we were about to finish when on Teams I get a message from this guy Bob. I've worked with Bob on three separate assignments, and they consistently got worse. The first assignment I ever did, I was a greenhorn, and kind of right away I realized that Bob not only was he didn't really know what he was doing, I got the impression real quick that Bob was a rat. He's very good at talking to people, very good at brown nosing people, not good at doing his actual job. Me and Bob are the polar opposites. I'm good at doing my job. I'm not good at brown nosing people. I'm not good at picking up on like any kind of thing where I'm upsetting people. So that first job was one of those ones where things didn't go especially wrong, but it was one of those things where I picked on real quick that Bob was very apt to blame me for shit that he did, kind of thing. Second job I did with Bob was in India, and that was a real fiasco. I think I was with the company for about 8 months at that time, and it was already one of those things where I had way more authority over Bob than he did, or over onto me. Like by this point, Hans already trusted me way more than he trusted Bob, and it was a situation where I had told Bob that I wanted him to torque check all the DC bolts, the bolts for the direct current bus work. And for reasons that I cannot fathom, Bob decided to try to delegate this to the local workforce. And these are like village guys. Like, they can't read a torque chart. They don't know how to use a torque wrench. But if you tell them to do something, they'll try it to the best of their ability, which naturally resulted in them snapping off about 7 or 8 bolts before Bob put a stop to it. And by then, it had already caused a whole crap load of issues because what they're snapping off is not easy to get to. Real flop and twitch kind of thing. Just caused a lot of issues. The third time I dealt with Bob was on a steel mill site in the U.S. This was probably like within my first year of being with the company. I was on the cold mill side. He was on the pickle line with a couple of other people. And out of the blue, Bob just came rushing into the cold mill side of cold mill driver. He's like, "Hey, just so you know, I got to head out real quick. Or I have to leave." "What do you mean you got to leave?" I got to leave. Something came up. Hans wants me out of here. Hans wants you out of here. Yeah. Hans wants you to leave an active commissioning site. He wants a commissioning engineer. Oh, I think it's another assignment. Really? Yeah, I got to go. And before I could really do anything, he was just out of there, out of Dodge. So I called up Hans immediately. "What are you doing pulling Bob out? We're in the midst of this commissioning." He goes, "I didn't pull Bob out." I go over to the pickle line, and it is a shit show. I think it was something where we were installing like around 48 drives or something, and somehow Bob managed to blow up 7 of them. To this day, I don't know how he managed to fucking do this. And like the people that were over there were just like, all of a sudden we heard a bang, like out of the blue, and then Bob just backed up and left. So I basically told Hans, I'm like, "Look, this is a situation really bad. We've got damaged equipment and so on. I think Bob's the one that did this. I want him fired. I want him fired." Like, the insane thing was that by the time I got back to the office, the situation had changed to where What the people in the office knew was that I was somehow responsible for this. Because again, Bob is really good at brown nosing. He's really good at talking to people. He's the opposite of me. I know that if I ever F anything up, I am getting fired. There are people in sourcing and finance and HR that are intimidated by me. They don't like me. So any way I screwed up, I'm gone. Whereas somebody like Bob, who's very good at being personable and manipulating people, they can't imagine Bob being like, I don't know, the shithead that he is. So after that, um, when I found out that there were actually people in upper management potentially gunning for me to blame me for this whole shit show, I told Hans, if I'm ever in the same room as that man, I'm going to violently assault him. Like, do not ever put me on the same job site as him. Do not ever have me in this building with him. Don't ever have me in a training situation. Do not have me in the same U.S. state as this guy. Because not only is he dangerous to the equipment, I think he's dangerous to human life. And I also think that he's a fucking rat. I don't want to be around him. And Hans, of course, is like, well, look, if you keep working for me, you'll never, ever deal with him ever again. Because there's no fucking way I'm allowing him to touch anything ever again. Which has so far been true. Even with my new manager. And enough of the other managers, like in solar, and oil and gas, hard rock mining, and so on. Because I do assignments for them as well. That's one of the first things I tell any manager. If you assign me to anything that Bob is attached to, I will physically prevent him from being able to get to site. And if that involves me breaking his spindly legs, that is what I will do. The fact that he is still employed with this company is one of the most bizarre things. I don't understand it. Other than the fact that he's really good at brown nosing, even customers. He's good at brown nosing customers. Customers will be convinced that he knows what he's doing, but then as soon as something goes wrong, then it's a shit show. Excuse me, I'm drinking a Gatorade. Out of the blue, Bob starts contacting me as I'm trying to leave the port on Teams. And against my own better judgment, I take the call. But he's typing in the chat because, and I can suddenly realize that Bob doesn't realize that I've had my hearing surgery. So he doesn't realize I can hear. So as he's typing, I hear him literally shit talking me to the customer about how, like, yeah, he knows his stuff. He's a real weird guy, though. Like, and let me tell you, he's an ugly motherfucker. And I was like, hey, Bob, do me a favor. Don't shit talk me to the customer. He goes, what? I was like, I can hear you, Bob. You can hear? I was like, yeah, everything's going through my hearing aids. Like, if you want this conversation to continue, stop shit talking me. I don't appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, that's great. You got your hearing back. You know, when did that happen, Bob? I'm not about to give you my life story. You're contacting me. This must mean that this is something serious. What is your issue? Oh, well, Mike, you know anything about? And he says the drive product. And I go, it's a multi-stage matrix drive that has an active front end. Yeah, I know a thing or two. This fucking thing doesn't work. It's stupid manual doesn't fucking do it off. All right, Bob, I need you to focus. I need you to focus. Tell me what your issue is right now. I tried to do an auto-tune didn't work. Uh-huh. And then I tried to manually tune it. Fucking thing won't take a step test. All right, Bob, first of all, stop cussing at me. Second of all, show me a screenshot. Show me a screenshot. I want you to do an auto-tune and show me a screenshot of the failure. So he tries to do an auto-tune, shows me the screenshot. Bob, there's your issue. Yeah, it's failing. I'm like, no, Bob. Look at the bottom of the screen. What do you see in the middle? What am I looking at? You're seeing that the VFD is in simulation mode. What the hell does that mean? How he doesn't know what the fuck simulation mode means, I have no earthly idea. Bob, if it's in simulation mode, that means the drive will never output a voltage. If it doesn't output the voltage, it will not generate a current. If it doesn't generate a current in the motor, it will never induce the poles on the rotor. If the poles don't get induced, you'll never be able to generate slip. No slip means no torque. No torque means no turny, turny, roundy, roundy. You need to take it out of simulation mode. How do I do that? Again, Bob, I really don't appreciate you using this kind of language towards me and in front of a customer. Double click the simulation mode button. It will prompt you to hit OK when it asks you when you want to drop out of simulation mode. I then need you to cycle control power on the drive fully. Do that. Do that now. So I'm waiting. And then I hear another voice in the room. Hey, so who exactly are you? I'm Mike Smith. Are you the guy that wrote this handbook or whatever that he's supposed to be following? Yes, I wrote the book. How far away are you from Southern California? How quickly can we get you here? I was like, sir, I hate to tell you this. I'm right off the Gulf Coast. There's no way I could make it in any time fashion. We're just gonna have to work through this. I'm making myself available. We're just gonna have to work through it. Auto tune passes. What a shock! What a shock when the drive is actually allowed to do what it's supposed to do. So you'd think Bob would smartly just move on. That's what I would do. No. Bob starts to have to rant and rave at me because he wants to know how the holy crap this thing was in simulation mode. He must have got a bad drive file from the office, yada, 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 yada. I was like, Bob, give me control of your screen. What? Give me control of your screen on Teams. How do I do that? And I have to tell him how to do that. This old fart. And of course, I could see the change history. I'm looking up. I didn't trust him to actually look up the change history. Not that he wouldn't know how to do it. I knew he'd try to hide it from me. I opened it up. There it is, Bob. 9:38 this morning. 9:38 this morning. That's when you put it in simulation mode. I didn't do that. Bob, I could see you made the change. I could see the MAC address of the computer that was used. That is your computer. Bob, follow my procedure. If at any time you have any questions, then you can call me. I'm going to go back to my hotel room. It's about a 35-minute drive. All right. Yeah, if I run into anything, I'll let you know. Before I hang up, the other guy with him goes, "What's your email or what's your cell phone number?" So I tell him. I get back. It's like 45 minutes later. I get the phone call from that guy. Listen, I kicked that guy off my site. I'm sick of him. I've realized that I'm not going to be able to get my rock crusher up and running. But how soon will it be that we could get you here to do this? I was like, you don't need me there. What are you talking about? I'll talk you through it. Sir, I wrote the manual. You don't think I can talk you through this? You guys have already done the hard stuff, the switchgear and stuff. I'm assuming you tested tripping switchgear and all? Yeah, we did that. Good. Then the rest of this is easy. I'll talk you through it. He goes, well, I don't have the computer software. That's fine. Give me an email address. So I gave him a link so you could download the software, talk through how to download the software, talk through how to install it, set up his firewall and everything. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here, just like chatting, like doing instant message with my wife and my kid. Apologizing that I'm not talking to him right away after getting off work. I'm like, something came up on another site. But hey, son, how's things going in school? Kind of thing. I can do more than two things at once. Get him through to where he can connect to it. I'm like, all right, this is where we're going to have to really trust each other. So when I tell you to do something, I want you to do it. If you have any questions about what I'm asking you to do, you are to stop me and get full clarification and get me to convince you that you feel safe in what you're doing. I do not want you trying to do something and you're not sure. And if it don't sound right to you, that's when we'll stop and I'll do a better job explaining it. You understand me? Absolutely. Let's do this. All right, great. It took me 45 minutes to get a guy who has never touched our software before to get this drive fully commissioned with the load. We made it. We managed to make it because we were supposed to get this done by 5 p.m. California time. Son of a bitch. I made it. That was pretty cool. That's a big deal for this guy. And of course, unfortunately, I'm making him do a lot of paperwork kind of thing. It's like, hey, because every time we do a step, all right, good. We're happy with this. I see the results. It's critically damped. So I need you to take a screenshot of this, and I need you to save the actual trend that you made, and I need you to put that into that OneDrive that I gave you access to. And all this, and I need you to send the whole entire program back. Once we're done, I made sure everything was working. I've been sitting here watching his screen this whole time. Like right now, that's what I'm up doing on one of my computer screens. Just babysitting, making sure it's good, making sure it's good. Guy's ecstatic. At one point, when we got done, he goes, "Holy shit, he's like, "You're not going to believe this, man." I was like, "What's that?" He goes, "I'm not even an electrician, man. I'm a mechanic." I was like, "So am I." He's like, "Wait, seriously?" I was like, "Yeah, my original degree is mechanical." He's like, "How do you know all this stuff?" I was like, "I had to write the manual, didn't I?" Had to figure it out on my own, I guess. So we've been chatting a little bit. I get a decent rapport with him, and I was like, "Look, this is going to sound really awkward, and you're going to think I'm crazy." I was like, "But I'm assuming Bob's going to come in tomorrow morning and try to get his paperwork signed for his hours. I realize Bob has not been on this site since you kicked him off. Could you please just pay him for the hours that I've been talking to you?" It's a lot simpler for me. I was like, "Don't worry about me charging overtime or nothing, because the way I consider this is California time where I'm at. Yeah, there's times no different. I don't care." I was like, "But I got to charge the time, and it's just less headache for me if we charge it via Bob." I guess so, yeah. I was like, "Just please resist the urge not to punch him in the face when he shows up with the paperwork." The guy started chuckling. I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Smith, you're great, man. I love you." I was like, "Great, great. Well, I'm glad we're doing good." It's like, just let me know if anything comes up. I was like, "Just a word of warning, like 8 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to be in the air. So, you know, if something happens between 8 and midnight, my time, which is probably around like whatever it is in California, there might be some dead time." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it, man. I've been watching this thing. This thing's working better than it ever did before." I was like, "Excellent. All right, cool." So I'm thinking, all right, I did my good deed for the day. I pulled Bob's ass out of the fire. I didn't shit talk him. I didn't cause him any kind of issue. I didn't get into a fight with him and so on. I'm doing something that I don't really think I should do, which is protect Bob from the consequences of his own stupidity. Because I feel like for some reason everybody does this. But you know what? I'm just happy that this guy's happy. And so I'm just looking forward to just sleeping in tomorrow, packing up my shit. I'm going to check out the local aquarium because I got some time to kill before my plane takes off, and I'm going to take some pictures for my wife and my kid of this aquarium. It'll be good. Should be good. I get a phone call from my boss like 30 seconds before I started this video. I got off the phone with him. And he starts off on me. He goes, "Mike, so I understand that you got Bob kicked off of the site." I go, "What?" "Yeah, I just got off the phone with Bob." And I'm thinking, how does Bob know I work for you? Kind of thing. But this is kind of the thing that like Bob somehow has his ear to the grind, to the ground. He's a snake. He's an absolute snake. I was like, "I didn't get him kicked off the site." "Well, he says you got him kicked off the site. You caused a big issue with the customer. Customer's really not happy, and it sounds like this commission has been completely derailed." "Okay. Well, you don't have anything to say in your defense?" "No." "Mike, when you get back here Monday morning, you and I are going to sit down and we're going to go over this." "Well, I ain't going to be there Monday." "No, I'm telling you to be there Monday." I was like, "Boss, I already told you weeks ago, I have to get a procedure done on my spine on Monday. I'm not even going to be allowed to drive a car, let alone sit up. Um, no, I will not be physically able to be in the office, and I'm not taking phone calls while I'm recovering from a major medical thing. Fine, Tuesday morning. All right, I'll be there in the office Tuesday morning. Yeah, we're gonna hash this out. This is a This is how my boss is clueless because it's like, and again, I'm always amazed how Bob can pull this shit off. Like I'm convinced that this guy doesn't know the difference between alternating current and direct current. Like, and the stories I've heard from not just it's not just my stories of dealing with him. Like other field engineers are like, yeah, I if I see he's on a site, I just walk away because they other engineers, field engineers, have stories about Bob like breaking shit and just disappearing, or like just he's just a rat kind of thing. He will if he overhears somebody saying anything about anything, um, he will he will use it against you kind of thing. I know like the Latino guys fucking detest him because they've caught him numerous times talking shit about them to the customer about them being like illegals and shit. And it's like he's a real prick. He's a real fucking prick. But for some whatever reason, that motherfucker is smooth as shit when he's in the office. I almost wish I could witness it, like how he operates, but at the same time, if I see him, I see the red mist and I just want to start smashing heads. So I guess I'll never get to see it. But yeah, it's been a interesting day, so to speak. But again, the important thing is this hard rock mining facility's got their crusher working. That guy, I'm certain that if I have to, I will just call this guy up, put him on speakerphone, be like, "Hey, could you please tell my boss your experience with Bob?" And I'm sure he has plenty of stuff to say. Like, I just so you know, Bob says you kicked him off the site, and that I caused you a lot of issues. Like, or no, I'm sorry. Bob says I got him kicked off the site, and that you actually like him, and that you wanted him to stay. Do you have anything to say in that matter? Customer's gonna lose their shit, you know. But yeah, that's the thing that really irks me about Bob. It's not enough that he's a fuck up, but he's a buddy fucker. Like he is totally a buddy fucker. But I digress. I've gotten this out of me. I'm not actually in a bad mood. I'm not worried about anything. There's really nothing my boss could do to me. Um, I'll set him right. Like when I say I'll set him right, I'll tell him the truth. I'm not gonna get aggressive or nothing. I'm just gonna be like, look, I'm sure you heard a lot from Bob, but you're gonna pick up very, very soon that you cannot trust anything that guy says, and you really don't want to use him on any flipping job. And somehow Bob will just stick around. The guy's like in his like 60s, and it's like I don't understand why he's still around. I don't understand why he hasn't retired yet. But what do I know? Y'all take care. Ciao.